Welcome to the Right Pespective. I'm Justin, and today I want to talk about the Australian banking industry. Now, this is currently a hot topic, and all the focus by the media, people, government has been on what they are doing. What are they doing on interest rates? What are they doing in relation to CEOs' salaries? How much profit are they making? A focus on what they are doing. Now, by now, you should realise banks are not your friends. They're there to make money, and they want to make as much as they can. They don't fear you. The only thing they fear is true competition. Now, we're not going to focus on what they're doing. We're going to focus on why they are able to do this and who caused it. We know there's no competition in the banking sector. Whose role was it to ensure competition remains in this sector? Whose? It was the ACCC's. The ACCC's role is to promote competition and fair trade in the marketplace to benefit consumers, business and community. To protect you. What have they done over the last 10 years? Now, I'll ask you to remember names like MLC, BT, Colonial First State. They're still around today, but now the banks own them. You see, in the early 2000s, the banks went on a rampage and took out the funds management industry. Why did they do this? Well, a natural progression of the funds management industry was to acquire a banking licence. How do we know this? AMP have a banking licence. So it makes sense that the others would have followed. Now, what happened each time the banks went after a fund manager or insurer? The ACCC allowed it. You see, the banks knew these guys were going to be competitors, and they took them out. And each time, the ACCC rubber stamped it. Further on, you should look at the banking sector, what happened over the last 10 years in relation to that. Names like Bank of Melbourne, St George, Bank West, Rams, Wizard. They're all owned by banks now. They were all taken over, and each time the ACCC came to the conclusion that the merger or takeover was unlikely to lessen competition. You see, that's what they come back with, unlikely to lessen competition. I refresh your minds back to St George Bank and Westpac taking it over. You see, the ACCC said that St George was a relatively innovative and dynamic competitor in this space. Fantastic. They also said that they were strong in their customer service and focus. So here we have an entity that is doing very well, profitable in its own right, providing competition to Australians. And what does the ACCC do? They come back with the conclusion that the takeover by one of the big fours was unlikely to lessen competition. Well, how has that gone for us? The banks seem to do what they want to do now. Has the ACCC fulfilled their role in promoting competition and fair trade in the marketplace to the benefit of you and I? Clearly not. The second government body I want to discuss today is the Reserve Bank of Australia. Now, one of their roles is to set the official cash rate. Now, if we look at the global financial crisis and what was coming in the lead up to it, you'll note that they missed it. These guys are supposed to lead monetary policy in Australia, and they missed the GFC. In fact, the GFC started around June 2007. During the first year of the GFC, they increased interest rates 4 times. 4 times. Remember, the GFC was supposed to be economic doom and gloom. There was going to be economic Armageddon. You don't need to hurt the economy more by increasing interest rates. Yet they did. During that period, the economy suffered. Small business was suffering. Consumers were hurting. And it wasn't until September 2008, well after the first year of the GFC, that they finally started to reduce interest rates. But you'll note they reduced them fast. They reduced them by 4% over 5 months. Now, the previous 18 months, they had increased rates by over 1%. Yet they had to quickly reduce them. Now, high interest rates help the banks. It helps their bottom line. The RBA have a history of putting up high rates, higher than necessary, and as I said, they didn't see the GFC coming, and they hurt us in it, to the betterment of the banks. What are they doing now? Well, more recently, they raised interest rates again. Why? There was no economic rationale for doing that. In fact, inflation was well within the target band. Why did they put it up? And why did they hurt each and every Australian that relies on the bank in one way or another? Consumers? Small business? Why did they put them up? And finally, what did the government do to ensure competition in the banking sector? Well, you might remember they put in the bank guarantee during the GFC. Now, this more or less resulted in the destruction of competition from that industry. It gave the banks more power. It destroyed non-bank lenders, credit unions, and mortgage brokers. 3 arms of competition in that sector were decimated. Other results were second-tier lenders. Some of our second-tier lenders that are still around have lost enormous market share relative to their size, thanks to the government bank guarantee. You see, the government gave the banks a hammer, and the Big Four used them. After the GFC, we now see the banks' profits even higher. The risks of having no competition in an industry means that we have a monopoly. And the 3 bodies I've mentioned, the ACCC, the RBA and the government, have ensured the banks have effectively become monsters. They can do whatever they want. And they hold us to ransom, each and every Australian that has a loan, credit card or mortgage. Now, what can be done about this? Well, first of all, I encourage you to get a hold of your budget. Start paying down your debt. You see, if you have no debt with a bank, they don't want you. So that should be your first priority. Another thing you can do is consider what I've said today. Has it struck a chord? Don't just trust me. Go look at the ACCC's website. Go look at the RBA's website and their board. Can you relate to it? Look at their decisions. Now, one of the roles of the Right Pespective is to provide education. And if you agree with this, contact your political leaders and find out their views. Does it meet with yours? We need leaders in government that will not pander to the banks. We need leaders that will foster competition, encourage other competitors to enter without fear into this market. The ACCC has to say no to takeovers and mergers. The RBA has to stop hurting us. And we need leaders that will act and not just sit there and lecture us. If you can find those leaders, get behind them. Offer them your support, your vote and your voice. Let them know they have you and others behind them. If you can't find these leaders, maybe you're the leader we all need. I'm Justin. and you've been watching The Right Perspective.